Welcome back, guys. Patrick here, moving on to another example dealing with combinations of functions. So given the graphs of f of x and g of x over here, so notice that this graph is f of x and then this graph here is g of x. We have to state the value of each of these expressions here. So notice over here we got f of negative 2. So another way to rewrite this is f of negative 2. Okay, so if you see something in this format, it's the exact same as that format. I prefer to write it like this personally. So what you do is you start with the inner function. What's f of negative 2 going to be? Well, f of negative 2 is the y value of f at an x value of negative 2. So we go to negative 2, which is here. These are all going up by 1s. Go on the f graph. F of negative 2. What's the y value? It's 1. So f of negative 2 we know is equal to 1. Right? F of negative 2. What's the y value at an x value of negative 2? On the graph f of x, it's a y value of 1, so we plug in 1 here. And then what's f of 1? F of 1 is the y value at an x value of 1. So we have an x value of 1. On the graph f of x, the y value would be 2. So that's the answer for part A. So part A is equal to 2. Now what's g of f of 0? So another way to write this is g f of 0. What's f of 0 in this case? Well, it's the y value of f at an x value 0. X value 0 is here. Well, the y value of f is going to be 3, like that. And what's g of 3? Well, we look on the graph g of x at a g value of 3, 1, 2, 3, at an x value of 3 rather, g of 3 is going to be 0. The y value is going to be 0. So that would end up being 0, like that. Let me just double check this. F of 0 is 3. G of 3 is 0. Okay, so that would be 0 right here. Now, what's f of g of negative 3? So this is like f of g of negative 3. What's g of negative 3? You start with that. G of negative 3, negative 3 is over here. So on the g of x graph, what's the y value? The y value is 3 in this case. So we'd have f of 3. Right? G of negative 3 is 3. And then f of 3, we go on the f of x graph, f of 3 is 0 as well. Notice that g of x and f of x, they intersect at that x value of 3. They both have a y value of 0 at that x value of 3. So this would end up being 0 as well. Right? So this would be 0. And then what's g of 2? So this is like g of 2. G of 2 is, or sorry, that's the f graph. On the g of x graph, g of 2, so this is an x value of 2. The y value is negative 1. Okay, at an x value of 2, g of x, this graph here, has a y value of negative 1. This coordinate here is 2 and negative 1. And what's g of negative 1? Well, we would go to negative 1. On the g of x graph, we'd end up getting negative 1 as well. Like that, because this coordinate here is negative 1 and negative 1. The y value is negative 1 at an x value of negative 1. So the answer to part D is negative 1. Okay, so hopefully that explanation made sense. Perhaps not the best explanation, but yeah, I just like to rewrite it in that other format and then just work my way from the inside function and then out.